welcome or welcome back to my channel here on YouTube. My name is Svania, and if you're new here, I live in Maine, United States, with my husband and my dog. And as you may have gathered from the title of this episode, I am pregnant. I'm expecting our first child. She's a girl, and she's coming in just a few days. So at the time of filming this, I am 39 weeks and 2 days pregnant, which means I definitely waited until last minute to record this episode. I had every intention to do this a few weeks ago, but life just sort of got in the way, and I've been getting these colds repeatedly as well, which you can probably still hear some congestion in my voice, but I'm excited to be here today. I have lots to share with you, lots and lots of baby knits. I've pretty much been knitting since I found out I was pregnant, which has been a really nice way to sort of bond with her, as well as embrace motherhood and all those life changes to come. If you're a returning viewer, then you may know that I host somewhat of a regular knitting style podcast where I update you on projects and whips and that sort of thing. I've been very purposeful about leaving baby knits out of those episodes, and there's a few reasons for that I thought I would just touch on very briefly. One is that I think baby knits are a fairly niche topic. Not everyone necessarily wants to hear about baby patterns or yarns or that sort of thing. And then the second is that I am very aware that pregnancy and baby-related topics can be quite a sensitive subject, or maybe even like a triggering topic. I myself have opened up a little bit more about this, but my husband and I did struggle with infertility for a while, and ultimately did IVF to become pregnant. And I've shared a little bit about that on my channel here, but I thought as someone who both works in healthcare and also has somewhat of a public platform here on YouTube, it's important for me to address this and also try to normalize the conversation. This topic affects a lot of people, a lot more than the normal person may think, and I just wanted to extend some empathy and love and support to those who might be experiencing the same challenges. These topics, subjects can be quite isolating and become major hardships in life. So it's never my intent to contribute to negative feelings. I really want knitting to be a topic of joy and for this channel to be a source of inspiration, but I do just want to sort of put a disclaimer on that. And if you're in that position, please just watch with caution. So I have a lot of knits to share with you today. Like I said, I'm going to be a first-time mom, so I don't have a lot of experience with using these items, but I have, of course, knit quite a few. So today will be a lot more just talking about like the pattern and the yarn that I used, less about sort of the functionality of these pieces. I really hope to touch base with you maybe in like 6 months to a year to give you an update on how they've been wearing, and more so like challenges of maybe taking care of them. And I realize that some of these things may not really be the most functional like garments to wear on the regular, and that's okay. If they serve as mementos or like keepsake items that are maybe passed down through generations, that is enough to please me and sort of make these successful projects. So with that in mind, I'll be sharing my projects in different categories to sort of stay organized. And I will also share some like tips, advice that I've gotten from lots of people who have extended these tidbits of information to me over time. So not my personal sort of advice, but things that I've either read or heard, I will try to sort of incorporate into sharing of these projects. I will also be listing all the projects in the description of this video, as well as links to their Ravelry pages, where I may or may not include a few more details if you're looking for that after watching this video. I will also include a Ravelry bundle where there are so many more baby or like children's patterns for inspiration if you're looking for those as well. So the very first thing that I knit when I found out I was pregnant is the Ellen's Coming Home set by Petite Knit. Now I have to refer to my computer to make sure I have all the information correct, so bear with me if I'm looking down. This pattern is a 3-piece pattern. It includes jacket, pant, and a bonnet. It is a wrap style jacket, worked top down and flat. And then the pants are top down with some short row shaping, and then the bonnet is worked flat. So this is my version here, and it's kind of hard to hold up because they're 3 separate pieces, but here is the sweater, the little pants, and then here is the bonnet. So it's a matching set. It is super, super cute. I had this pattern saved for a long time, even before I knew I was pregnant, because I thought it was just a really great set to get, you know, one pattern or like 3 projects worth in one pattern. So the pattern is, it calls for a DK weight yarn. I used Sanus Garn Duo, which is a like merino wool cotton blend. It's actually the yarn that the pattern calls for. And there are 5 sizes in this pattern, ranging 0 months all the way up to 9 to 12. So sort of within the first year. So definitely like a baby pattern. And I knit the 1 to 3 month size, and my gauge is pretty spot on, and I do think the sizing is fairly consistent with that age range. My favorite part was actually knitting these little pants. I had no idea knitting pants would be so much fun. I thought they'd be pretty boring, but something about like shaping the little butt and then including the elastic and the waistband was a really fun little additive to keep it really interesting. And then I added these cute little wooden buttons here. So it feels very like Scandinavian, very, very petite knit. And then the bonnet is just very, very cute as well. It's sort of just a standard bonnet. It's got some decreasing in the back at the crown, and then some I-cord for the little ties. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this. Another special thing about this was I actually bought the yarn on a trip to Denmark last year, so it was the perfect amount to use for this set. I think I had maybe 4 or 5 skeins total. So it used up all the yarn, almost all the yarn, and has made for a really cute little set. So not probably something she will be able to come home from the hospital in per se, but definitely something she can either wear like as a set or individually. And this was also part of like my like baby announcement photo where I put like an ultrasound next to it, and that makes it extra special as well. The next project in this category is the Elisenberg Playsuit. This is a pattern by Guri Peterson, who also goes by Indie Bloomst on Ravelry. Super talented, like baby children's knitwear designer. She was new to me, but I've knit quite a few of her patterns, and you'll see those in this episode. So this is a really cute little onesie jumper, as you can see. It was super fun and engaging to knit, just because I think onesies are adorable to make. They just come together really quickly and are super gratifying. So this is knit from the top down. I believe you start in the back and then you knit the 2 panels separately, and you sort of watch the button band come together, and then you pick up back up in the round to make the legs. There are 4 sizes: newborn, 3 to 6 months, 9 to 12 months, and 18 to 24. So spans a few years. I could definitely see myself making this again in like a 1 to 2 or even like a 2+ year size. It's just a very versatile unisex pattern, which is really convenient for children's knitwear. It calls for, I believe, DK or maybe light worsted yarn, and I used Sanus Garn Pure Gint in the color 2523, which is this like off-white tweed. And I've used Peer Gynt before, but I actually used this project as an opportunity to try out their tweed. I think baby knits are actually a really great way to make like a really big swatch and then also see how that swatch wears, because it's obviously less of a commitment to make something with like 3 to 4 skeins versus like a big adult garment. So that was sort of some of the purpose behind this as well. I had ordered 3 skeins, and I've never played Yarn Chicken so badly. I think I had, I don't know, I have a few yards left and that's about it. So I might have even like cut the legs a little bit short just to make sure I had enough yarn to finish, but it was a lovely, lovely project. It looked a little wonky before blocking, so you definitely need to give this a good wet block. And yeah, I knit the newborn size. I'm not sure if I said that yet, but it looks a little bit bigger than the newborn, maybe like a 1 to 2 month size, but that's okay. It's definitely a little oversized, but something she can easily wear over like little ones, like a cotton onesie as well. So love this pattern, and I think we're gonna get a lot of use out of this. Another little jumper I made are these little overalls here. So these are called the Fagerborg overalls. It's another pattern by Guri Peterson. And I think this actually might be one of my favorite knits. I don't know if it's just baby overalls in general, or maybe the color, or maybe just the combination. But this is just a super cute baby knit pattern. Obviously unisex. Pretty functional, I think. We'll see how it wears. But yeah, I just can't get enough of these. So it is a top-down pattern. You knit mostly in the stockinette, flat, and then in the round here is stockinette. And as you can see, there's some garter edges that make up like the little placards here, and then the straps and the hem of the feet. So this is a pattern that calls for DK weight yarn, and it suggests lamina como. I used 1 skein of a Jaeger spun yarn, this was in stash. Actually, a lot of these knits are from stash yarn, which has been really nice to like try to use up some of my stash. It seems to be like the perfect quantity to try to sneak like a little baby knit out of. So Jaeger spun, it's a company unfortunately going out of business, and I cannot find the label for the life of me, but it is a worsted weight yarn. So I modified it a little bit. I think my gauge is a little bit off, but either way, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. There are 5 sizes to this, spanning 0 months all the way up to 18 to 24. So again, really big size range, and you could easily make this for, you know, a 2-year-old. I knit mine on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I think I knit the 0 to 3 month size, and it seems to be fairly accurate. We'll see how it wears, but yeah, and these buttons are adorable. They are removable or like functional. So those are the Fagerborg overalls. And then the last onesie or like full body suit is the Briskby winter suit, another pattern by Guri Peterson. She just really does these like top down full body suits really well. And this is, I mean, how cute is that? It is just the perfect little like winter suit for a winter baby. So this is actually a bulky weight pattern, and I modified it very heavily for some of the yarn I had in stash that I wanted to use up. So I did obviously go off of gauge a little bit, but did follow the pattern pretty thoroughly. So it is a top-down suit, meant to be like pretty oversized to fit over like an outfit. And again, it is written for bulky weight yarn. The recommended yarn is either Lamina Como or Drops Nepal, which would be a really interesting yarn to use for this. And it's like at a gauge of 17 stitches for 10 centimeters. So it's a pretty bulky knit. There are 6 sizes, ranging 0 to 1 month is the smallest size, and then it sizes up to 2 to 3 years. So another very generous size range. I ended up knitting the 6 to 12 month size. However, I used a DK. I think it's a DK weight. It's technically listed as worsted. Blue Sky Fibers, wool stock worsted. Mine, I feel, knits like a DK weight on 4mm needles. So I knit a bigger gauge with the normal needles I would use to make a smaller suit. And I think I ended up with somewhere around like the 0 to 3 month size based on the measurements, which I'm really happy with. And then I added these cute like little wooden buttons here. It was really easy pattern to follow. I really had no qualms. I really love the deep like raglan here. I did have some issues with the gauge, as you can tell. I don't know if you can tell or not, but the suit here versus the legs, I probably should have sized up needles in the legs because my gauge is pretty tight with Magic Loop and the round here. But generally really happy with this. I'm considering embroidering some fun little things on this. I don't know if like hearts or bumblebees or like mushrooms. Like I have lots and lots of ideas clearly, but something I could probably do, and if I don't like it, I could just like clip it out. But I really hope we get some use out of this even into the springtime months. So that is the Brisky suit by Gary Peterson. Moving on to sweaters or tops. This is probably my favorite of the entire collection, and I'm really excited to share this. So this here is the sweater from the Seaside set by Petite Knit. And I'm just so in love. I think it is the cutest thing that I've made, and I'm in love. I want to make one for myself. So the Seaside set, it is a full set, again, by Petite Knit. It's a sweater and pants, and I've only knit the sweater here. And it is written for a fingering, or a light fingering actually. It's clearly a little raglan pattern here with some buttons on the side, which I think are really functional for babies. At least the babies that I've taken care of, I remember like dressing them and being afraid to move their little heads when they're really like young and fragile and have like no neck stability. So I think this will hopefully get lots of wear. I knit this in Santa's Garden Sunday, which is actually the recommended yarn, in the two colors Foggy Gray, which is 1031, and 1012, which is Whipped Cream. And I just love the color combo. I'm thinking about knitting a pair of matching pants, but I just don't have enough of this yarn. This was a lot of scraps that I sort of used up conveniently, like of different, what do I want to say? I used scraps of like different balls of yarn to make this, so lots of little ends to weave in, but it was so gratifying to like use all of that to make this little guy. So there are 7 sizes ranging 0 to 1 month all the way up to 12 to 18 months. And I knit the 2 to 4 month size. And I did that hoping that we could get some good wear out of this in like later spring when it's maybe not as cold out. I gave a lot of thought, which I probably should talk about this, but I gave a lot of thought about what size to knit for when, because this baby will be due obviously mid-February. So she's going to be maybe in like 0 to 3 month sizes until the summertime. And then there will likely be this like lull where we're not really wearing a lot of knitwear, and then come the fall and winter months where I can maybe get away with like wearing a little bit more knitwear. So choosing sizes sort of appropriately per season was really important to me. So I found it fairly challenging to do that, only because you really have to make sure your gauge is spot on to make the right sizes. So this is like one really big experiment, but I'm hoping that this will fit her at least this spring before she gets very big, or maybe even into like the cooler or the less hot months of summertime, even when you're like in the air conditioning and that sort of thing. So yeah, I love this. I really wish that I knit more fingering weight things for her. They take a lot more time, obviously, because they're at a much smaller gauge, but just the general feel of it, I think the weight is like perfect for babies. It's not too warm, it's not too like light or like frilly. Like I feel like there's like some substance to it, so we can really get some good wear out of it. But yeah, so that is my little seaside sweater. Maybe I'll make a matching one for me. I actually have a sweater in the Sunday whipped cream color, so maybe this will be like a little bit of a matching set. So the next little sweater I have is a repeat of the Ellen's Coming Home set, but this is just the sweater. So I basically just knit the sweater pattern out of that collection, and I adjusted it a little bit for gauge. So here she is. I think it's super, super cute in this really light, like rose color. It's funny, I'm like not a pink girl by any means. I didn't grow up wearing a lot of pink. I'm not like frilly or girly, or like I don't really gravitate towards those kind of clothes. But for some reason, having a girl, I'm like really embracing the pink girly side in me, especially these like really light feminine tones. So this sweater, it's darling, it's super cute. I really love the design of this like side button band. I think it'll be really functional when we're actually wearing this. So again, Ellen's Coming Home set, details I talked about a little bit earlier. However, this is knit in Sandnes Garn Alpaca Wool in the shade 3521, also called Pearl Pink. I got 2 skeins of this, thinking I could easily squeak a sweater out of it. And surprisingly, I used a lot more yarn than I thought I would. I had a little bit left, but not much. And to my surprise, this is actually a worsted yarn and not a DK. So it knit up a little bit bulkier than I expected it to. So my gauge is a little off. I tried to make the 0-month size, or like the newborn size, but I think it's more of like a 3-month size when I compare it to others, which is fine. We'll still get a lot of wear out of it. Again, it's a little bit bulkier. This was another one of those projects where I wanted to try out the yarn, so just buying a couple skeins of said yarn and then making it into a sweater. I think I'll get a good idea of how it wears. I really did like working with this yarn, so I could see myself making an adult sweater. So the other thing I did was include this little label here. So it's a petite knit label. I picked these up in Denmark when I went last year on a trip, and then I just embroidered like a little circle around the appropriate size and sewed it in, which I think is just a cute little element and will also help to make sure I remember what size this is. So yeah, that's the sweater from Ellen's Coming Home set. Next sweater up is the Melange sweater, which is on this hanger, and it's looking really, really funny. Maybe I take it off. Okay, it still looks funny, but it looks a little bit more... Okay, it still looks a little funny, but this is the Melange sweater, which is another pattern by Petite Knit. I knit this last summer, so it's been a long time since I made this. I remember knowing that it was a girl, and I sent pictures of this, but I made them black and white when I was sending to like friends and family because we didn't want to reveal the gender yet. So I have lots of black and white photos of this, which is really, really funny. But it is obviously more pink. This is a cute little drop shoulder sweater, which is knit top down, and it's knit in 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, so you get this like marled look. Petite Knit has this whole like melange sweater collection, if you didn't know, and this is the like baby version. So it was a really fun knit. It was a great way to use up some stash yarn. I knit the 6 to 9 month size, which I do not think that this is the right size. I think it looks a little bit smaller, but we shall see. I think with wear, this may also stretch in both directions, both like width-wise and lengthwise. So we'll just have to see how this goes. But it's technically written for DK weight, so you could easily adjust it to just using 1 strand of DK weight yarn. There are 4 sizes. It goes from 3 to 6 months all the way up to 12 to 18 months. And again, I used Sanus Garn. I used Sunday in the color 1012, which is called Whipped Cream. And then I used Baby Wool Linnet, which is also a fingering weight yarn by Sanus. Not the Sunday though, it is a superwash. And it was in the color 4312. So super quick and enjoyable knit. I really like the drop shoulder style. I think this will be a staple, and I feel like I will probably knit this pattern again and again just because of the general construction. I think it's just a really great standard little baby sweater pattern. The next pattern I have is the teddy bear sweater. This is another Petite Knit pattern, and I have made this before. I have knit this pattern several times. It's just a really great standard raglan pattern. However, in her pattern, she will show you how to embroider this cute little teddy face on it. So that's sort of the staple of this sweater, but in general, it's a really basic baby child size raglan. I mixed it up a little bit and really thought it would be fun to use some textured yarn. So I knit this in a boucle yarn, as you can see here, for the body. And then for the hem, I knit it in just like a DK merino. So it gives it a little bit of a textured effect here. So a little bit more about the teddy sweater pattern. It calls for a DK weight yarn. It suggests like a lace and a fingering held together. It has 9 sizes spanning 3 months all the way up to 6 to 7 years. So far out of all the patterns, this is, you get a lot of bang for your buck when you get this pattern because you can, use it for multiple ages. I made this in terms of yarn. It is knit in Drops Boucle, which is the boucle yarn, and I held that together with a strand of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Oat, just to give it a little bit more structure. I haven't really knit with boucle a lot, but I was a little bit worried about the yarn holding up to wear, so I thought just a strand of mohair would help to kind of give it a little bit more structure. And then the hem, the collar, the hem is Sanus Garn Double Sunday in 2321, which is marzipan. It's just this matching colored taupey brown beige. Not a great knit in terms of the boucle. I did not enjoy most of this. I will say I liked seeing the fabric come together, but knitting boucle is just not my thing. I love the finished product. I think it's really, really cute, but getting your needle hooked in boucle, and it's just sort of a mess. And I was excited when this was finished. And it's remarkably soft, actually. I thought for sure we would have some issues wearing it, maybe. I knit, I think it was the 6 month size, maybe the 9 month. I did not write this down, but I feel like she'll tolerate it fine. I find it fairly soft, which I was very surprised by. So overall, a fantastic like finished object, but the process wasn't that enjoyable. And then the embroidery is just pretty standard. I just used some black thread and like a little pink, probably left over from some of the other pink knits that I made. So you will see that I made some matching bottoms for this, and then a few little bonnets as well. So sort of goes together as a set, which I'll share a little bit later. So here is another Teddy sweater, again the same pattern that I just showed the boucle sweater in. Now I knit this many years ago. I don't even think I was thinking about having kids at this point, but a little bit better of a representation of like the how the pattern is written. So it holds together a strand of fingering and mohair, and doesn't have the embroidery. So a very basic but beautiful child sweater. I made this as a big swatch to try out this yarn combination, which is Sandnes Garden Sunday and Tin Silk Mohair in the colors 6062 and 6564 respectively. And I believe I used 2 skeins of both to make this entire sweater. And I have, I think, a little bit of leftover yarn, but not much. And I just sort of wanted to work the yarns together and see how they played out. And so far it's just been like hanging and waiting patiently for a child to bless us. And yeah, at some point she'll be able to wear this. I believe this was the 1 to 2 year size. It looks really, really big compared to the other sweaters that I've made so far, but I think we'll get some nice use out of this. Probably not for a little while, but another Teddy sweater by Petite Knit. Okay, moving on to the Moby Sweater Baby, which is yet again another Petite Knit pattern. I don't think I've mentioned this, but Petite Knit makes a ton of baby patterns, and I think they're fantastic. I really trust her judgment, mainly because she has several kids herself. So not only has she designed for them, but she's also tried these out as functional pieces. So I really trust her designs, and this is no exception. So again, this is the Moby Sweater Baby by Petite Knit. It is the only like cabled knit that I made, and it's cabled front and back. It's really, really beautiful. This is a very, very fun pattern to make. So there are 4 sizes, spans 1 to 3 months all the way up to 9 to 12 months, so definitely still for babies. It goes along with her Moby collection, so there's an adult version, I think there's a child version, and then there's some slipovers, which I think would be really fun to like make a adult matching one. Maybe not in the same color, but that would be kind of fun to do. I made the 9 to 12 month size, and I used the recommended yarn, and I actually used the recommended color as well in the pattern. So this is Sandnes Garden Double Sunday, which is a DK weight non-superwash merino in the color whipped cream or 1012, and I just really love how this came out. At our shower we had a little laundry line of all the knits that I've made, and this one definitely was like the showstopper. Everyone really loves cables and thinks they're really fascinating, and I agree, they're fun to knit. I did make a little bit of a mistake back here with the cables, but no one can see. There's like one that twists the wrong way, but yeah. So this is knit top down. I believe you start with the back, you pick up the front, and then you join in the round and then do the sleeve separately, and very quick knit. So you're getting sort of a lot of payout for, I think, more minimal effort than if you were to knit an adult sweater. So this would make a really special gift, I think, for someone. It just it just looks really nice. So that's my Moby sweater baby. One more thought, I did make a few adjustments to this. I shortened the sleeves by a few centimeters, and then I also picked up less stitches around the neckline. I just felt like the recommended stitches made for like a really wide opening, and it just didn't look very like flattering, and I thought about maybe like sewing an elastic or something, but what I ended up doing is I just picked up less stitches, and it seems to like be sitting better, and it also still has like a good amount of stretch to accommodate a baby's head, which can be quite big, and I definitely don't want to struggle like getting this over her head, but I think there's plenty of room here, and I can always go back and change it if I need to, but it just seemed like it needed a little bit of modification there. Moving on to bottoms, I don't have a lot in this category, but I do have these really cute bloomers and thought that they deserved their own special category. So these are Eleanor's Bloomers. It's a pattern by Petite Knit. It is a top-down project that is knit seamlessly in the round, and then you cast off with some ribbing and then connect with some grafting. And then you sew in this like little cute elastic. There's actually two versions for this. You can either do the elastic version or some I-cord ties, which I think you make like a little eyelet in the front of the pattern here. So you can feed those through the double knit band up here. I chose to do the elastic, obviously, which was a lot of fun and a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So similar to the pants that I showed earlier, I thought these were a ton of fun to knit. Something about bottoms, baby's bottoms are just adorable. So this pattern calls for a DK weight yarn. There are 7 sizes spanning 0 to 2 months all the way up to 18 to 24 months. I knit the 6 to 9 month version, but we'll see how they fit. There's obviously a lot going on in the nether regions with babies in terms of diapers and that sort of thing. So we'll see sort of at what size will be comfortable to wear these. I did intend to knit this sort of as a matching set with the teddy sweater. I thought that was just really cute with like the browns matching. So I attempted to match up the size a little bit, but we could be in different stages at different times when these are fitting, which is fine. But either way, that's sort of how I intended to wear these. I used the yarn Barocco Ultra Alpaca in the color 6204, also called buckwheat. And this was another skein, just a lone skein in my stash, and thought this was the perfect little project to use that up. I'm pleasantly surprised with the softness of this yarn, and I definitely think I'll be using it again for future projects. And I think I used maybe like 0.7 skeins of this, so I have a little bit left over. But yeah, and in terms of needles, I knit the waistband. You start with a smaller needle just to provide a little bit of a like cinching in the waistband. I started them out using a 3.25 millimeter needle and then knit the body of the bloomers on 3.75. So really super fun, satisfying project. I think they're just adorable. Moving on to accessories, I did knit a few hats, and I thought I would be knitting more accessories, but for some reason I only knit a few, and I think that's fine. There's only so many hats and gloves and that kind of thing a baby can wear, especially with just a few months left of winter, at least when she's really, really small. So I knit one of my favorite patterns, which I've made before in 2 different versions. So these are the baby bear bonnets by Knitting for Olive or Pernille Larsen. So I'll show them separately. Here's a little pink version, and then here's a little brown version. And I knit the brown one first. This is in the 12 month size, and I used Quince & Co. Chickadee Heathers, which is a sport weight yarn. This pattern does call for sport weight, I believe, sport or DK. It's a fingering plus a mohair held together, but I decided just to use a sport weight yarn. And I really, really love how this came out. I think the sizing is pretty spot on. My gauge was really accurate, and I really, really love how the fabric turned out. Quince & Co. yarn I've worked with quite a bit, and this is definitely my favorite of their collection. It's just like a really soft 100% wool in a really nice weight. I think it just makes for like a really nice fabric. So this pattern, there's a few versions. There's one that starts off with a little bit of a moss like band, or you can do a ribbing one, which is what I did on the pink one. And then you basically use increases and decreases to shape the crown. You shape the ears and then put them on hold, and then you do a lot of like decreases, short rows in the back, which when I knit this pattern for the first time, I was like bewildered with how many short rows there were in the back. They just seem to keep on coming. And then you finish it off with a little I-cord, and you do that sort of seamlessly, like from one end onto the bonnet and then knitting the back of it. So overall, I think this is a beautiful pattern. I wouldn't say it is the easiest to like read and get through, and that sort of is said about a lot of knitting for olive patterns. I don't know if it's a translation issue. You really just have to like read through the pattern and take the instructions quite literally, and then also have like a pen handy so you know where you are, because it's easy to get lost, but 100% worth it. So this is the 12-month size, and then I tried to knit what I was hoping was going to be a smaller size, using some yarn in stash. So this pink one I intended to make for the 9-month size, but actually, and it's a gauge issue, it came out bigger than just slightly, but you can see it's a little bit bigger when held together with the brown one. So this is probably more of like a year, maybe even older than that. So something she can wear next year. This is knit in Sandnes Garn Baby Wool Linnet in the colors 4312 or pink, and then it's held together with Jetty for a Kid. It's a Surrey, which is probably what altered my gauge a little bit, is adding the Surrey, and that's in the color 03406, which I have no idea where I got it from. I've had it in stash for a long time, so this was definitely a really great stash buster. And the one thing that I learned from the brown one, which I incorporated in the pink one, which I knit a little bit later, was the fact that the I-cord strings could be much, much longer, just to make for like an easy bow tie. So I knit these like very much past what the pattern says, and then I blocked them out quite heavily. So I really like the length of these I-cords. I think they'll be just a little bit more functional. So yeah, these are, oh my gosh, they're so adorable. They're so cute. They sort of even match, again, the teddy sweater. So she can wear a teddy sweater while wearing her little bonnet. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun sort of mixing and matching, and also using up stash yarn to make such little beautiful projects. I then knit one more bonnet. This is the Elisenberg bonnet by Guri Peterson. If you remember, I knit a lot of her jumpers, which I showed earlier in this video. The Elisenberg is a collection of patterns, so it sort of follows the same style. I believe the characteristics are just like mostly stockinette with some ribbing. So that's exactly what this bonnet is. It's a very standard little bonnet. And yeah, that's sort of all all I can say about that. This pattern is very unique because it is written for 3 different yarn weights and gauges, so you can pretty much choose whatever yarn you want to use and sort of adjust the pattern based on that. So it's a very versatile pattern. There are 6 sizes ranging 0 months all the way up to 18 months. And you knit it from the back and then add on some like, I think there's just like increases in the back, and then you knit most of it flat, then you knit the ribbing, and then you add on some I-cord. So it's pretty standard. It was a very, very quick knit, and I used Knit Picks Capra DK, which is, oh man, it's like a cashmere DK plus I think wool. It's incredibly soft. I've had a lot of this in stash over the years, and I had like I think less than a ball left, and that's what I used. And then I knit as much I-cord as I can to try to use up as much of the yarn, and it really worked out as a nice little project. So this was, I believe, the middle size, which was like the DK gauge. And I think I knit the 0 to 3 month size, which it feels pretty accurate. But babies' heads are so variable at different stages. So it could be something that fits early on or maybe a little bit later. But either way, a really great pattern, something I highly recommend, especially as like a gift knit. This just makes just a really nice little treasure. The last little accessory I made are these little mittens here. They're like a thumbless mitten. And the pattern is called the Teeny Tiny Mitts by We Knit Together. It's a free pattern available on Ravelry. And yeah, they're just very, very basic little baby mittens that have no thumbs, that are just attached by this little I-cord so they can't get lost. And I used 2 strands of Sandnes Garn baby wool, I think in like one of their light gray colors, I forget the colorway, and held it together with a strand of Surrey mohair. And there are 3 sizes, 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6, and 6 to 12. It's technically written for a DK weight gauge, but you could easily, very, very, very easily adjust this. I knit the size small, and I think they'll definitely be fine for a newborn. We'll see how well the mohair, or the Surrey rather, holds up. I'm a little concerned about knitting like mohair, or at least dressing her with mohair, knowing that it pills and it can like, the little strands can fall off. I just don't want them to be like a source of, not choking necessarily, but like going into her mouth or something. So that's something that I'm considering. So I'm not quite sure about the functionality and general use out of these mittens, but they're super cute. And if anything, they could even make like a little cute little Christmas ornament or something that we could put on the tree for next year. They just use the smallest amount of yarn. So in the big picture, it was like a really good little stash knit. But I could definitely see myself making these in like a superwash merino or something that is a little bit more friendly, and that she's not maybe like at risk for putting her hands in her mouth or something like that. So that's sort of what I was thinking making these. Moving on to the category of toys and home, I sort of grouped these categories together. I'm actually in baby's room right now, and if you look above me, her dresser has a few of the little stuffed animals that I knit. I've shared a little bit about these in my podcast, but I thought this episode would be really fun to sort of dig in a little bit more and share some of those animals because they're ultimately for her. The first one being this cute little swan here. The pattern name is Svanugen. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It means swan in Norwegian. It's by Aftenstrik, who is available on Ravelry, but I don't think you can purchase her patterns from Ravelry. You have to go to her individual site. So this is a little like swan stuffy. I mean, look how cute that is. It's just like a little sleeping swan. I love this pattern when I first saw it, and I knew I had to make it. So you knit this from the head all the way down, and then you add on the little wings and the beak and the legs you sort of attach and knit from the body, and then you embroider a little eye, little sleeping eye. This pattern is it recommends using a fingering and a mohair held together, which is exactly what I did. I have no idea what yarn I used. This is all a bunch of leftover scraps. You could easily adjust the gauge to make a bigger or a smaller swan in whatever yarn you want to use. There's only one size, and if you do follow the gauge, I think the total size is like 27 centimeters. I haven't measured this, but it's a cute little stuffy. Like it's perfect for a little baby or a little child. I don't know if this was a translation issue with the pattern, but there were a few areas that I was a little bit confused on in terms of like the decreasing and that sort of thing, but it is quite an intuitive project. I mean, if you look at it, it's basically like a rounded head and then a rounded body. So if you follow the general shape, and then you can alter these little stuffed animals a lot by like how you're stuffing them, and then how you actually block them as well. So how you're like blocking them, and you can like stretch them into your intended shape. So I really like how her head just kind of like falls. It just looks like she's sleeping, and it's just a really sweet little pattern. So that is Svanugen by Aftenstrick or Enya Odegaard. Next little stuffy is this cute little lamb here. This is my little lammy, and I've shared a lot about little lammy probably since early last year. I've knit quite a few of these and gifted a few as well. I just think it is a really, really sweet little stuffy. So this is the lamb knitting pattern by Sweet Patterns Lab, who is only available on Etsy, so that's where I found this pattern. It is knit in the round, either with double pointed needles or magic loop. There's a crochet cast on, but you can easily modify that, which I did. The way that you get this really cute little lamb texture is by using boucle yarn. So I used boucle, and I think I held it together with some mohair for the body here, and then you use like a regular weight, I think it's DK, either DK or fingering weight yarn for the face, the ears, and then the little legs that you add on. And then there's, well, it didn't call for it, but I add like a little tiny little tail. And then you embroider some of the facial features on here. This one here has glass eyes. So at first when I was making these, I just did like a little French knot embroidery for these guys' eyes, but then I found some glass eyes from Amazon, which I started experimenting with. So this isn't technically like a baby safe toy by any means, definitely a choking hazard. I've tried to secure them pretty well, but there's just no guarantee in that. So these little animals will definitely be like on the shelf far away, more as like little trinkets than like functional toys. So just something to note. And then the little rosy cheeks are just a little bit of blush that I had from my own makeup that I just sort of dabbed on, which gives it a lot of character. So that's little Lammy. I love her. I've also knit them like little scarves or like little accessories as well. So yeah, I will definitely be knitting more of these. I've even thought about knitting like much smaller ones and making like a little sheep garland. You guys know I love my garlands. It's just a really fun, like adaptable pattern and just really sweet for babies. So here are the stuffed animals I was talking about. These have been living on the dresser behind me that I was saying, and I will introduce them all separately, starting with Mr. Moose. He's the first one that I ever knit. I freestyled all of these. There's no set pattern, but I will say I was heavily influenced by Susan B. Anderson's Good Bear pattern. If you're looking for like a really good teddy bear pattern, that is the one. I just love her like writing style, and I love the construction of the Good Bear. So that these are all sort of loosely based on that type of pattern. So starting with the feet and the round, you sort of work upwards, you connect for the body, knit the body for a portion, and then you add on a little head, pick up for the arms, and then of course all the accessories and stuff are knit separately. So Mr. Moose here, he is knit in Istex Let Lopi and Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, which I held together for this beautiful like brown. So his body is a little rough because of the Icelandic wool, but because of that, it gives it a lot of structure. Like he stands up really well, but the Wonder Fluff sort of softens things out. So still sort of a stuffy. And I obviously modified his face a little bit to be more of like the moose shape. And I also like sewed in a lot of different yarn throughout the body to try to like shape especially his face. So like that snout, if you look at the profile here, it's not like a general decline. It has sort of like a drop off. And so I sewed like a big long strand of yarn and sort of cinched it down so it would give it more of that like snout look. I think it came out all right. And then the ears I just sort of knit in like long ovals and sort of pinch those together. And his antlers are just like knitting, like knit I-cord basically, and I fed some floral wire, which is very, very bendable wire, into the antler and then into his head and sort of attached it in there to really like let them stand up, and they're pretty bendable. You can really adjust them. See, you can adjust them. And then if you're looking at his face, you can see I use glass eyes again, so not baby safe by any means, but I do like working with the glass eyes. And I made him some eyeglasses, and if you really look at his eyes, you can see some whites behind them. That was just like a little scrap yarn that I sewed behind the eye just to give it like a little bit more pop against the darker body fabric. I think a lot of like how stuffed animals look comes down to their facial expression, and it really conveys like their personality. So I really liked that element. He kind of like looks like he's like looking down through the glasses, and I love that about him. And then I gave him a little striped sweater and some overalls, which are adorned with some buttons. So overall, I think he's my favorite. He was one of the first ones that I made, so sort of holds a special place in my heart, and he's been a staple here in our little nursery. So that's Mr. Moose. My next stuffy is this elephant. We call her Ellie the elephant. She is a little bit more voluptuous than Mr. Moose. Similar construction though. She starts with the legs. I did a lot of increasing for her body just to really allow for, a big belly. And then I knit her head separately. I sewed that into place, and then for her trunk, I basically just knit like a very long like cone, and I had the same tactic sort of around the snout to sort of gather the snouts in place, and I then fed some floral wire down into her trunk to give it that curl. And I did the same thing with the tail and the back, so the tail kind of stands out. And then I gave her some nice big flappy ears, which I feel like are so consistent with like a big sweet elephant girl. And she has some eyes, but otherwise no real like other facial features or clothing. She clearly needs like a little outfit. If you have suggestions, please leave them below. I was thinking maybe like a cute little red polka dotted dress or something like that. She's definitely the lady of the crew. So a little bit more progress for her, but I really love her. She's really sweet. And the third little friend animal that I made was this little mouse here, and he was a lot of fun too. So very similar construction to the moose, the legs, the body. He's a little bit skinnier than the others. But then again, he's a mouse. He's got this little like cockeyed head, which I think is really cute. And I played around a lot with his face. It took a while for me to get like up that little snout. I don't know if you can see that well, but that took a little bit to finesse. But I really like how he came out. And he's got some jeans, and the jeans have little pockets in the front, and there's a little pocket in the back, and then there's a little like hole for his tail. And again, I used some floral wire and sort of shaped it into a little curl. So he's got a nice big long tail, and he's just wearing like a little white tee and a little scarf. And I was thinking about making him like a little like olive colored jacket or overcoat or something like that. I think that would definitely suit him. So that's my mouse, or the baby's mouse. So that wraps up things that I've made for baby. However, I can't finish up this video without showing you some of the pieces I've been gifted by friends and family. And I will say, this baby has so many knitted things. So many people have been so generous knitting like little sweaters and blankets. And I just thought I would share a couple of those before we finish up this episode. Especially because I did not personally knit any blankets, and I really wanted to share these select ones. So this blanket here is the Telly blanket. It is a pattern by Quince & Co. This is knit by my dear friend Nick, who is a fellow nurse and knitter, and we've sort of had this evolving friendship through the many things that tie us together in life. And he made this baby, this beautiful, beautiful blanket. He knits so much for all of his friends and family, and I just feel so special that he made something for us as well. Love the color combinations. The green and the pink, it's just so us, and I love it so much. I believe he used Sanus Garn alpaca, and it is so soft, but like there's substance to it, and it's just, I know it's gonna hold up really, really nicely, and it's also like the perfect size. So thank you, Nick. I know he's watching. I just love this blanket. He made us 2 blankets actually, but this was the highlight, and I love it so much, and we're gonna get lots and lots of use and wear out of it for many years. And then last but not least, this is a blanket that my mom made for baby. This is called the Tumbling Blocks blanket. It's a pattern by Pearl Soho, and you may or may not recognize the yarn. So when I graduated from school, bought myself a sweater's quantity of La Bien Amie Cory Confetti. This ochre color had just come out, and it was like a really big deal to get your hands on. And so I bought a sweater quantity, and then it sat around for a long time, and I never really found the perfect project to use. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I gave this yarn to my mom, hoping she would knit us a blanket, and that she did. So I don't know if you can see the pattern that well, especially with the lighting right now, but It's this really simple but beautiful textured pattern. It kind of, it has like chevron, but also diamonds if you're looking at it in certain ways. And it was a simple enough pattern, but it definitely shows off the yarn. And I just love all these little flecks of the recycled yarn. It just feels like sprinkles on a cupcake, and I love the gold ochre color. I think it's perfect for a blanket, and I just love this so much. So my mom might be watching as well. So thank you, Mama. I love this so much. And like I said, we have a lot of different knitted things. We will, I'm sure, be able to use everything. And we're just so thankful for all the love and support. Not only from our friends and family, but from a lot of viewers who have left some really nice comments over the last few months as you found out that I'm pregnant and expecting a baby. So if that's you, then thank you so much. I really appreciate your love and support. I hope to be back on YouTube as soon as I can, sharing all the knitted things. But for now, thanks so much for watching, sticking with me as I go through all of these projects. I hope I offered you some pattern and yarn inspiration. And again, check out those Ravelry bundles or the Ravelry pages and the bundle if you're interested in any more details, or just leave a comment below and hopefully I'll get to it and answer any questions or respond to any comments. So again, thanks for being here, and as always, happy knitting. I'll see you next time. Bye.